has to be a ban from SK Gaming. I would expect a Orianna ban actually coming in from ROCCAT side, and of course, as we just saw, Nidalee against Freddy. Source was so annoying against ROCCAT yesterday on Nidalee. Freddy's not going to see it a single time.
Well, we saw this yesterday. A lot of focus on Freddy. That is how Alliance managed to crack down SK Gaming. And again, with all 3 top laner bans from ROCCAT, they're doing exactly the same thing. Focus on Freddy. Tristana, the final ban as well, coming through. That means it's going to be an AD carry first pick.
And this should also mean for Freddy, I mean, if you look at the champions he normally plays, Renekton has then been his go-to champion when everything else is kind of gone. But Renekton in this meta here, if you just lane stop on him, he will never have the impact in late game, as we see some other top laners happen. We see all these late game comps now, where Renekton doesn't really fit in.
So on the other side then, ROCCAT taking Morgana and also taking Elise. Elise was banned out pretty much all day yesterday against Jankos. That is his first blood machine, although he also showed us they can come up with the goods on Kha'Zix as well. But for me, Elise is Jankos' best support by a long way.
And these 2 picks right here are the picks ROCCAT used in the quarterfinals to beat Super Hawk Crew pretty much every game. And it was the same tactic. We always talk about it with Jankos, how he runs into the lane and you just hard push it up. You kill the towers early. You don't really focus too much on ganking except for maybe the first blood. And then it's just all about tower pushing. Morgana and Elise is one of the best combinations for not only picking off people, but also pushing towers.
Well, Svenskeren gets his hands on Kha'Zix. It was a key part in every game yesterday, really, all throughout the best of 5, 2 best of 5 series. Kale also picked in. That's going to be unrated. He hovered over Orianna for a while. We talked about how it could be potential ban. What has surprised me here, 5 picks come through, 3 bans on the top lane, yet nobody's gone top.
Unless it's going to be killed top lane here, but could also be killed support, of course. We do already have the AD carry first pick from SK Gaming because they banned Tristana. So far, the 2 players we were looking at in terms of champion pool was Celavar, because he only played 2 AD carries so far, and then Corgi was going to be his like mid-game AD carry as the 3rd one. And then of course Freddy in the top lane, and he's maybe lack of champion pool, which is what ROCCAT was hitting at here. So very expected here from Celavar if he does log in the Corgi. It's going to be his go-to champion, some mid-game power. Now you have the Orianna, fine in the mid-game too, but even better in the late game and of course in the laning phase. So overpower now, finally getting a champion where he's actually supposed to win the mid lane on farm.
And that's the thing, he has been consistently behind every other mid laner in Europe at 10 minutes, at 20 minutes. Basically, whenever you look at CS, Overpower is generally behind, and Orianna is a champion where he shouldn't really be behind. It's a champion where he should be able to rack up big numbers. We'll see about that one. For SK Gaming, they locked in pretty quickly here, taking the Ahri for Jesus, who had a fantastic win rate yesterday. Ahri was really a big thing in that in that SK vs Alliance game. Mundo also then taking Freddy up top.
Alright, so Freddy can be pretty happy. Getting Dr. Mundo when there's 3 bans to top lanes is not exactly a bad deal here for SK Gaming. They will have the super tank for late game, where on the other side, for ROCCAT, because Maokai is being banned away, you don't really have this late game tank option as we see on the side of SK Gaming. Could of course be an Alistar if you wanted to play it into it, but it seems like he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, so it's going to be Lulu, the final choice in that top lane. As you mentioned, it does take away the tank factor for ROCCAT. So, can they allow it to reach that late game? They have to surely close this one out quick.
Yeah, they definitely have to win in the mid game here and make sure they don't give SK Gaming time to scale up and get the full items. Especially the Mundo is going to be so hard to deal with. Corgi is not an AD carry who destroys tanks. We rarely see Player through King on Corgi, so it's going to be hard for Silver in the late game if there's a fed Dr. Mundo in his face here. And SK Gaming side, Ahri has a 100% win rate in the playoffs so far. It was first picked yesterday between Alliance and SK Gaming a few times. Both ROCCAT and Jessis wanted to play her, and she is so damn strong. Also setting up these picks here. You have the kill support as like your peel and protection for your hyper carry now, or even for Dr. Mundo if he's the guy running in all alone. And then of course Svenskeren getting his Kha'Zix where he can get some wave clear, counter the fast push from ROCCAT they like to do, and also he can actually invade in on Elise. It's a good matchup here for Svenskeren to one-on-one Elise in the jungle.
I also think looking at the AD carries that honestly Kog'Maw is going to outscale. They want to go late game when they've got the Mundo in there. Kog'Maw is going to be a big factor in this game. ROCCAT aren't a team that win games generally in the mid game. They almost always take it to the very late game, whether that's really through their choice or not.
Yeah, obviously, you know, the ban towards it, first pick, it's got to be a big deal. Which champion select do you think has made you win the vote? Who is it going to be? SK win or ROCCAT win? That's the question. Hashtag SK or hashtag ROC win. And send them to, don't forget to put LOL eSports in there as well. We'll see how it works out as this game gets underway. ROCCAT were the favorites, but only just.
Only
won
just
over a lot
by
of fans
8%.
yesterday. Yeah,
So,
won over a lot of fans yesterday. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Game 1 about to get underway. SK Gaming starting out on the blue side, up against ROCCAT. A final spot at the World Championships is at stake here for the European number 3 seed. Who will it be? ROCCAT took the number 3 position back in the spring. Can they do it again?
And if you look at their bottom lane here from SK Gaming, it's actually the same setup they used against Alliance yesterday when they played, where they played Corki and Morgana, and really likes to pick Kayle into Morgana and simply just try and push the lane 24/7 into the tower, try and deny some CS from the enemy AD carry, and never really give them a chance to poke back. And also Corki, if he's under the tower, he can't really poke the enemy AD carry because he's low range, he needs to land the rockets, he needs to land the Q, and it's easy to dodge around if you also have the minions to help you.
So let's see how this one goes. And Celiver yesterday, Tristana was of course his real big impact champion. Now was banned out here today. Leaves him with Corki after Cogmore was first picked by SK Gaming. And again, ROCCAT being pretty active here at level 1. Looks like they're headed down onto the bottom side of SK's jungle. We'll see how far they go with this one. Looks like they're going to get a ward over by the Red Brush and one by the Wraith camp as well, and simply just head away.
So interesting there, sweeping lens picked up at the start by Jankos, and they cleared away that red buff ward. It has been replaced. Just saw Jez is replacing it there. Wonder if that means they're going to try and put some fear in them, but the fact that they held on, Jez has held on to that ward, will give them the vision back there. Interesting, you know, in the starting, you don't often see the sweeping lens as their first item these days.
No, and when we actually do see it, it's often from the support, just to deny some vision down the bottom lane and potentially set up an early gank. But it's time around, it is for Jankos, so we have to see actually how this jungle matchup is gonna work, because SK Gaming doesn't really have very strong early laners here compared to what ROCCAT has when Orianna and Lulu is in the mix. They are supposed to win their lanes, or at least do really well in the lanes, where Dr. Mundo often will end up just sitting back and try and farm as much as possible. So that should mean Svenskeren can really just invade in easily, because then ROCCAT can quickly send in both solo laners to help Jankos.
Speaking of Jankos, we'll see if he can pick up another first blood here, playing at least pretty much the machine that he's been using to get all these impressive first bloods, and really developing this ROCCAT style of early turret pressure with that ranged jungler. We'll see if he goes for that kind of thing here once again. Moving over to his red buff now after just taking the blue buff. Same can be said of Svenskeren down on the bottom side of the map, and Vander just trying to keep Enrated zone. Now actually there's a good little binding on towards Enrated. It's going to be a lot of damage coming out of Celiver.
Yeah, a lot reverse back on towards him to see how he sticks to that one. Also the vision, of course, they spotted Svenskeren, they had that ward in that bush, so they know he is in the lower half of the jungle, so they put the pressure on Enrated early. They know he's not going to be nearby, and it also buys time for Jankos to go in towards his top lane. He's going to hold out, try and land it. This cocoon is going to be vital. Glitterlance could slow down. Should try and force the flash out of Freddy early. He's coming around, so he's going to go in towards it. Joe.
Oh, Freddy here, can he get away from everything? Actually, the spider coming in, and he waited it nicely there for the cocoon. Not sure he technically needed to flash that one there. I actually think that the cocoon was away, but either way, I mean, better safe than sorry. Yeah. The last thing that you want to do at this stage is give Jankos or anyone else, it doesn't really matter who gets the first blood, you just don't want to give it up.
If he had been stunned there, he would have died instantly from the execute of Felicia, and we're going to see this a lot. Jankos puts a lot of focus on the top lane, and we talk about how shutting down Freddy can be the way to beat SK Gaming. If he's not going to beat a super tank in the mid to late game, well, ROCCAT can just roll over them here. They have a lot of damage, a lot of magic damage, however, on their side, but they do have a lot of damage in the start of these fights.
Clever use by ROCCAT. They saw Svenskeren passing by. They knew he was at the Wolves here, and they're going to go for him. Going to try and get down on towards him. The cocoon had already been fired off by Jankos, so they're not going to put too much follow on there. Zazas actually wasn't close enough. He used the speed up for Jankos to get close enough, instead forced him away. So attempted counter gank didn't work.
Well, one thing it's done is send him back though, and that will be Svenskeren then out of action, so to speak. Or I say that and he actually recalls, of course, as you would naturally expect, and he now is going to go over towards the ROCCAT jungle. We said it before that Svenskeren loves a bit of a counter jungle. but he sees Jankos actually doing his Wraith Camp. Overpower actually moving up from this mid lane as well. Svenskeren will now have to back off.
And this right here is exactly why Svenskeren can go in the jungle and try and fight Jankos. He can maybe go in and place a ward and spot him and then jump out again. But you saw Overpower instantly, as Svenskeren was around the jungle, he moved from the mid lane, already pushed it in through the tower, and was ready to help Jankos. Quick 2v1, and then Svenskeren would have died. So it simply means, due to this Orianna pick in the mid lane, for now, SK Gaming is not able to do these aggressive invades in the jungle. If Jesus, however, picks up an early kill, then he can start controlling the lane.
So let's check out this bottom lane. You know, despite the trading, obviously we saw Enrated getting pressured. Candy Panda does have the CS lead at the moment. Only just, that's going to get cleared up to 33 for Salavar as he works out the tower. Enrated, ballsy play. Look at that. Really wants the Dark Binding used on him. Trying to bait it out from Vander there. But it's not going to happen. Salavar is going back, so he's going to be the first AD carry. Or is he? He's cancelled it. He's cancelled his back.
He was also just grouping up the minions on Kayle, so all his AoE damage would hit every single one, and just try and fast push it into the tower because Salavar was trying to recall. He wanted to deny the entire wave here, but he actually cancelled it and stayed in lane. He does have heal, no health potion, but at least for now he can stay and farm on the tower. But this is exactly what we talk about. SK Gaming loves to do in the bottom lane when they're against Morgana. They pick the Kayle support and they just push the wave as much as possible. The only reason they're actually freezing it now is because Salavar was low and they were hoping he was going to step out and try and get some farm, and then they could punish him. But he's recalled, and now they actually lose some crucial time where they won't push it in.
Also see a lot of wards picked up by SK Gaming, so they want to make sure they've got vision control over the map, and probably more specifically that bottom side of things, as Vander is going to be tanking up the minions for now, making sure that they don't go underneath that turret, using his black shield there. Actually took a couple of little auto attacks from Enrated as well. We will finally see Celeber get back in, not quite got his phage finished off, but also elected for second Doran's Blade.
Just needs a few combat stats in lane here, otherwise he's going to be way too weak compared to Candy Panda, who's going to get the Trinity Force before him if they keep this farm going, as we see right now.
Speaking of combat stats, these two mid laners, looks like it's going to be Athene's for the two. Got to keep an eye on that one for ROCCAT. They could do with a Morellonomicon in there maybe for that grievous wounds. Freddy is going to need controlling somehow as it gets going. We'll keep our eye to see whether Overpower wants to go for it with Evander. Wants to maybe even build towards that later on.
Well, they do have 2 ignites here, so they have some healing reduction, but it's a good point. We can see Morellonomicon from Overpower. It will be a little bit risky, especially because he is against Ahri, and you want to get some early magic resist, so you don't. So Ahri loses her all-in potential on you, especially when the DFG should be completed from Jesus as the second item. He normally goes Athenes into DFG. We see some mid laners go like full damage early on and just ignore the Athenes, but Jesus is still a guy who likes to play the lane fairly safe, and we often see him put a lot of focus on just wave clearing and farming up a storm before he goes aggressive.
If only Jankos had the vision and had gone south there, he could have trapped Enrated, but instead it's Jesus he's going to try and focus on over at this Wraith. Not going to waste his smite on the big Wraith. No, looks like he's happy to let that one go. Doesn't want to get too close. The danger of Jesus doesn't have the vision of this one. He is spotted out himself, so they know exactly where he is. And Svenskeren is a little cautious. Red buff has just spawned, and it looks like they want to try and steal it away.
Jankos coming in there, but actually the bottom lane of SK Gaming coming up there just to make sure that that buff was going to be safe. And you see ROCCAT just backing instantly out of that one. Back to the topic of the mid lane, I'd actually like to see Jesus be more aggressive. Actually, forget that, because Enrated here taking a lot of damage actually from Jankos, who's pretty much out of mana. Candy Panda has now shown himself from that bottom side as well, so ROCCAT do have to back away. But my point that I wanted to make there, I'd like to actually see Jesus be more aggressive, because Overpower is such a passive mid lane, and we actually saw it yesterday that if you get ahead of him, if you're able to kill him off once or twice, you can do it over and over and over again and get a real good lead.
It is just hard because he's playing Orianna, so he's one of the strongest laners we have in this mid lane here. And he can also stay and just use the ball to farm. Svenskeren is now doing his standard second red buff spawning in the game. He will always be there. Apparently he even does it in solo queue. He will tell his laners, push your lane now at 7 minutes, I'm gonna go invade the red buff every single time. And once again he's there. Jesus instantly pushed to mid wave, and now wanna join Svenskeren here. Oh, he needs to be careful. Overpower.
Very dangerous, yeah. Overpower comes around, puts the offensive ball into Jez's face. That will be Jankos who will pick up the red buff with the smite.
And it's good to see ROCCAT doing the homework, predicting all these invades from SK Gaming, picking strong side lanes as well, so they can avoid Jankos falling behind due to Svenskeren being so aggressive here. So nice play by ROCCAT defending the red buff. and making sure Svensson doesn't get the same start he got against Alliance, where he always managed to get a lot of early farm and maybe even an early kill.
You have to feel that homework, well, I mean, at this stage of the year, homework has to be done. There's no doubt about that one, but SK have been a bit of a thorn in the sides of ROCCAT, you know, not done well against them in terms of the both splits, not also done well if we look back to the playoffs last year. They beat them in the playoffs, sorry, not last year, last split, in the spring split, where ROCCAT then ended up finishing third after beating Alliance. They've been a bit of a bogey team, to be honest, for ROCCAT.
And to be honest, it's always been about the fact that Freddy, Jessis, and Svensson together could actually shut down the solo lanes of ROCCAT and Jankos at the same time. Because Freddy and Jessis used to just pick lane bullies all the time. Like, remember when Jessis only played Ziggs and Orianna pretty much every single game. And it just worked against ROCCAT because Jankos could never really do anything. This time around, they haven't managed to shut him down. And we've talked enough about these two junglers now.
Oh.
Well, not enough.
No, I just briefly want to mention that Svensson was so stealthy he completely fooled our cameraman there. It was quite funny to see. So, bottom lane, we talked about how this needs shutting down. Candy Panda is starting to dominate this lane, honestly, over Celiva. Celiva was forced packing once again to go back to buy, and you can see he's got that phase now picked up with the second Storms and the boots, but he is slipping behind in CS against a lane that shouldn't probably be doing as strongly as it is right now.
Well, it's simply due to Kayle support and the fact they can push in the wave every single time. Morgana won't really be able to respond because you max your binding on Morgana and not your W, so you don't get the extra wave clear. And then Corgi is just forced to sit on the tower or behind the minions, and then you can't really trade with the rockets properly. You have lower range than Candy Panda as well, making it very hard. And of course, Invader can smack you in the face a few times if you get too close. And we actually did see Celiva. As soon as the lane was pushing down to SK Gaming side and it was freezing, he left the bottom lane. That's where they actually invaded onto the red buff and tried to pick up a kill because he couldn't stay in the lane, which is a big issue and another reason he's even further behind.
Trying to push out a little bit there. Celiva actually going back to ward inside of the tri-bush, and there is the binding landing. It's going to be a bit of free damage basically from ROCCAT side, but Candy Panda landing a couple of good ultimates there. We'll make sure that that trade isn't for nothing, but here is Jankos. Scoreboard still sits at 0-0. See if he can get in here, pick up, or help at least pick up a first blood for ROCCAT.
Jankos sneaks in unseen so far. No wards picking up his position. If Candy Panda was to step forward just a little bit, the minion wave was cleared out. Now he's going to come through. They're just going to back off. Svensson still in the scene just behind as well, so he's staying around. It looks like he's happy that this is going to be safe at the tower.
Both junglers just looking there for a chance of a gank, and then moving away once again. We do see Lulu build Morel and Omicron, as you talked about earlier. So that's going to work great against the Dr. Mundo, and Zazus probably doesn't feel he needs the defensive stats anyway. Freddy can never really get to him. They're just standing there, clearing the waves. Freddy's staying on the tower. His tower up in his top lane actually is down to about 15% HP because every single time the wave gets pushed down, he will farm it, but he can't do it fast enough for Zazus to not even hit the tower. So it will actually go down within the next few waves unless SK send Svensson up there.
That may well give them the advantage. ROCCAT could force this one, the Dragon. They could take tower at the same time, and if teleport is used by Freddy, it's not available for Zazus. But SK, I don't think are aware too much of this one. Ward was just cleared out, so I think they're going to have a rough idea on the timing. It's going very low, and Svensson is going to be pretty too late for the smite party here.
Far too late for that one. ROCCAT pick up the first Dragon of the game, and definitely a big bonus for them. And this is more of the SK use.
Panda's like, get off my pink ward, whereas
really
Jankos has just left him. It's like, come on, guys, defend this ward. It cost me a lot of gold.
Really wanted to keep that one alive there. Actually, Celiva stuck around in lane there mostly, whilst that Dragon was going down. Still a good chunk of CS behind there. 15 CS now, actually.
But this Dragon, it was too easy for ROCCAT to take it. If we actually do look at Enraider at the moment, he doesn't have any wards on his sidestone. And it's been like this for the last 5 minutes. I just went back in the game to check. He's actually been sitting with an empty sidestone for 5 minutes now. Not been back to base for a long time. He racked up a lot of gold as well, which simply meant there was no wards in the rear area. So as soon as Jankos moved in there, placed the pink and noticed, okay, they don't have any vision right here, we can just start it. Nobody from SK Gaming, except for Svensson when it was too late, actually expected the Dragon to be taken here. So a bit too easy from ROCCAT. Not enough wards, as we normally see from SK Gaming.
Yeah, it is a common problem that we saw up to about 20-minute mark. They were generally okay, and then they were slipping away in the wall control. If they're slipping away this early, it is a big, big problem. Top lane, Morellonomicon now completed along with Source Boots for Xaxus and Freddy. He's got that Spirit Passage, slowly becoming that gigantic, annoying tank that we know he will be. Could probably go fairly heavy on the magic resist as well, judging by obviously ROCCAT's got 3 members with the magic damage.
Plus
And well,
Cloaky
technically,
as well.
4.5 technically.
Yeah, 4.5. So it's going to be full magic resist from the side of SK Gaming, making it even harder for ROCCAT in the late game to deal with them. We already talked about how Celabar is going to get outscaled, Xaxus is going to get outscaled as well, and you get pretty much full magic damage. So it's going to be very, very hard in the late game for ROCCAT to kill the members of SK Gaming. And while they did have to focus on Freddy in the start of the first game from Jankos, and they will be able to take this top tower whenever they want to, they're not stopping Freddy from farming. So he's already at the Spirit Visage. He can go for his second tank item, potentially before the next dragon even spawns or get close to it, which is going to make him pretty strong already in the mid game.
Yeah, when your top laners are almost touching on the mid lane CS, and that just shows you how really quiet that top lane's been, or maybe we should say how quiet the junglers have been at this point. Jankos, of course, did come down to the bottom. Svensson was in there as well, but not really too much activity coming out of the jungle. And we can see that Jankos going for his favorite build, I think it's safe to say by now. Getting some good damage in there early with a Spectral Wraith and that Haunting, guys. This is going to be the first turret of the game, though. Going over to SK Gaming.
Yeah, solid work from SK. They've been pounding away on that bottom turret. That buys time for Jankos to head towards the top. Remember, as you mentioned, this tower is pretty low in this top lane, so only going to take a couple of hits. Sadism's already been used by Freddy, so he's got no ultimate to fall back on if Xaxus were to suddenly burn down the damage. Xaxus is going to take away the white on the left-hand side. And with this wave, they may well jump on Freddy.
Let's see what they do. They're going in.
Oh, it's going to be bad. The tower is very, very low. Actually, they decided to just jump on him there, not finishing off the tower. Wild Growth will come in. It is Jankos that's tanking it up, but he's able to go in again, and the first Blood Machine does it time and time and time again.
A nice little trade here. Tower was so low, they could have instantly killed it after they took down Freddy without his ulti. Now onto this mid lane here.
Oh, SK have moved around on force. That's going to be a simple turret, 4 members collapsing in amongst it. But look at this. ROCCAT not done yet. They're continuing to push down the inner lane. ROCCAT realize they need to react to this. SK could sweep across the river. They are doing that. There's 3 members heading up the river right now. Candy Panda's holding busy in the mid lane. Shockwave comes out, flashed away by Candy Panda. But let's look towards that top lane at the moment, because they're going to get collapsed on.
Jess is making
the way across there. Jankos comes in towards them. Charm does not land. He's going to come rappel back down there. Flash is available for him if he needs it, if he can get a save.
Oh, can he get that?
No! Not quite enough damage. He didn't get the support, but ROCCAT do get the middle turret down, and now they have 3 turrets themselves.
So the teams here are trading towers, they're trading kills. First we saw Freddy go down the top lane, tower went down as well. At the same time, the bot lane tower went down, and then instantly SK Gaming said Jankos is in the top lane. He won't be able to help the mid lane. It was already low. Jesus had pushed it in, and Easy just rotated from the bottom lane to mid lane, picked up a neck or another tower, and now Dragon spawning in about a minute.
And that's the thing that ROCCAT seems to do so well. Very reactive plays there, pushing into the top lane. You also have to say that SK just didn't really react at all. Or, well, obviously they did, they went in later and got the kill, but it was very, very slow. They lost the inner turret in the top lane before they even started to move away, trading it for that inner middle turret, which some would argue could be just as important there. Once those middle turrets start to fall, allows you to start working your way through the enemy jungle. But for now, despite the fact that we are, 5 towers into this game, low scoring, still quite cautious.
A lot of focus on just like farming in the lanes. We haven't seen a lot of jungle action, and then either take this safe ganks where you basically run in and just kill a tower and not go for a straight up gank. Now we're gonna have the dragon spawning very soon. We talk about ROCCAT in the mid game. They have to be able to go in here and take this fight against SK Gaming. If they lose it, they will fall very far behind and also get outscaled here. And Xaxus is sitting in the top lane, no teleport. Freddy can join in for the dragon here as soon as it spawns, and it also means SK Gaming is feeling very confident, so they move straight into the river and place the wards because they know Freddy can join in at any time and be 5 versus 4.
Problem is, of course, Xaxus has put a lot of pressure in that top lane. They did just take down the inner turret, so if Freddy goes away, they are leaving an inhibitor turret exposed, and it is Xaxus still shoving out that wave. He's got that needlessly large rod now, so a lot of magic damage. We'll see whether he makes his way down the river. Ward spots out. SK clocked out on the side there. Big item completed for Overpower should this fight happen. That Shockwave will be doing some serious damage.
Oh,
Zaz has caught out a little bit, but sidesteps it. Wild Growth has been used out, and the Flash is going to pounce on towards this one. Overpower forced the Flash as well, and that may well be the trigger. No! That's going to be a quick Shockwave.
Why?
Used out because ROCCAT are trying to buy time to take down the Dragon. They're sneaking it fast in the background. They hit and run, they're gone.
Wow, okay, so ROCCAT actually used 2 big ultis here, used 2 flashes. It would have meant they couldn't actually fight for the Dragon, but because SK Gaming sent every single member to go and try and kill Zazas here, Selva, Vander, and Jankos could just sneak the Dragon. Nice play. They need to get into this mid lane though, because there's a lot of people pushing from SK Gaming.
And they are going to start to move back into that one. Zaz's TP is still down, so he's not going to be able to get in unless he walks away from that top lane and then most likely gives up the turret to the Mundo. Trying to get a max range charm in there, but Jankos stood at the front. And yeah, wave clear is there, that's for sure, with the likes of Lulu from that top side of it, from Orianna. It's not going to be too difficult to be holding on to these turrets. There's a lot of kind of all-in potential, especially when you think of the likes of Svenska and Diamond in Mundo, tanky as you like going underneath the tower, and Jesus to obviously get in there for the charm. And then you're going to see Overpower going down in the mid lane, completely caught out of position there. And again, a big play out of Jesus. That's the kind of thing that Jesus needs to do that we don't see too often from him, I have to say. We heard it earlier that Alliance, they rely on Froggen to do that kind of thing. SK don't necessarily rely on Jesus to do that, but if he does do it, it gives them a massive boost.
And it really seems like Jesus, whenever he plays Ahri, is the only assassin where he can really take control of the game. Because we have seen him play Zed in the past where it didn't work out for him. Ahri, again, you need to get these picks here, you need to catch people off guard, land a charm, and then you can just burst them down like we just saw him do here onto Overpower. So, been working out also against Alliance with the Ahri pick for Jesus here. Need to keep doing it. Now you also need to be careful.
Oh, I'm not sure Jankos wants this one solo. Look at that. Jesus turns it around, puts the charm down. Might be able to take it down, Jankos. Instead, he gets slowed by Zazas. The rest of SK moving back in. Cocoon is going to be jumped in there, so it's going to leap off, but he gets a dark binding in the meantime. Freddy trying to zone out Zazas. SK, they bought themselves some time. What I was about to say is the difference between these two teams is SK will make a kill and get an objective. You just saw it there in the mid lane. Tower. And actually, ROCCAT were very much in danger. If that last charm, Jesus fired it off and it missed by a whisker. Then it got that would have been inhibitor gone.
And that's just great play by SK Gaming. Also looking at the fact that 2 flashes were used earlier by Overpower and Zazas. Yes, okay, SK Gaming lost the Dragon due to the chase, but it simply meant they could go into the jungle. They could suddenly look for a fight, and we saw Jesus spot out Overpower. There was no flash, instant just kill him there, get the tower as well. And while SK Gaming as a team, we always talk about how bad they are at warding. Try and look at their items now. This is the first time in many games I actually see Jessis and Freddy buy wards. So it seems like they've been looking at the games yesterday and realized we need to have more wards on the map, especially when we play these assassins in the mid lane. And then we can use the lead we get early on, or if we have the pressure, play some deep wards and get the kills on objectives.
And I think this fits SK's style. This is the SK play style that was so good in the spring split for them, and they've kind of struggled to find that form here in summer, but this is what they did really, really well back then, is get towards this mid game and then even going into the later game as well. Get the kill, literally just one kill, and then just push these towers down, really pushing those objectives very, very quickly. Svensson not quite going to get hit there by the binding. 3 men up on that top side of the map. 4 men now, even if you can. Jankos in. I was going to say SK wisely backing away, but actually they're going aggressive into the jungle.
And this is the thing. SK are what, 3,000 gold behind, but you don't feel it. They are their aggressors. They are the ones looking for team fights. Shockwave used on Enrated doesn't have the damage. He still holds on to intervention. Ballsy play by Enrated. Didn't want to waste it there. Took a lot of pressure, but he's happy to just sit at the back. He's the support. If you're going to focus the support, then the rest of the team are just going to come in, sweep around, and take another free tower.
And because SK Gaming is controlling the jungle of ROCCAT here with all their members, with some of the wards they just placed, they can go between mid lane and top lane. So as soon as Overpower walked in there, tried to kill Enrated, didn't work for him. He was in a bad spot. He could never make it to top lane in time anyway, so he just had to go back to mid lane. Easy tower picked up by SK Gaming. And while again they are behind in gold, they are fully controlling the map and the jungle here, and ROCCAT is just sitting back. They're basically waiting to land a binding like we just saw here, if they actually want to engage and try and kill someone from SK.
Zaz has actually got a lot of damage at this point. It's all Morellonomicon into the death cap. His opposite number, Freddy, said, I like Giant's belt, so I'm going to buy 2 of them. I mean, Mundo has got a bit of
big pants.
He's got like a Joe Miller waist going on. You have to get 2 belts and link them together, you know.
Don't be so harsh on yourself. You look beautiful.
Chain them together. So, Candy Panda, let's see where he builds and continues, because it looks like Sullivan is going to be an eye edge, maybe come out after that Trinity Force. Zaz in his top lane, got himself that death cap a while back as well. Jesus, though, he is possibly the key for SK, opening up, unlocking the game with that charm. Rabadon's death cap, Deathfire Grasp picked up. A lot of damage on him. And we'll see where it works out. Overpower's been, as we've said so many times, fairly passive. Fairly, I don't exactly try to think of the word, but basically he's not been involved in this entire game.
Passive is a great word.
Passive really is kind of fits in pretty well. 12 seconds on the Dragon. ROCCAT snuck it last time. I don't think SK are going to allow that to happen this time around. There's a lot of ward placement coming in around this river area. They have the positional advantage.
We still do see a lot of the big items for ROCCAT here, so they are still strong if they get a standard 5 versus 5 here. They've been using 2 ultis from Overpower so far in the game, and they've done nothing at all. Every single time he needs to land a perfect one here. And ROCCAT, of course, because their combo is built around picking off targets with like Jankos or Vander landing their binding or the cocoon. Otherwise, they actually have to wait for SK Gaming to engage onto them and just like kite it out, get a good position for the shockwave, and then re-engage as soon as they land all the ultis.
Jez has got a DFG in there as well, so he needs to be hunting. You can see him actually up in the jungle then, waiting off to the side just to hope that someone comes around that they can pick up. The Dragon, of course, in the meantime, did go over to SK Gaming. In terms of gold now, they're closing in. It's just 1,000 difference. ROCCAT still holding on to the lead, but slowly but surely the map is just being taken away from them. They're losing tower here, tower there, Dragon here, Dragon there. And at some point, they're going to be sat in their base thinking, what the hell happened to us?
They're basically just so far behind in terms of vision control and wards on the map. Same around the Dragon. I mean, look at the area here. Blue wards everywhere from SK Gaming. 2 wards from ROCCAT placed around their own blue buff. I mean, they can't use that for anything. So as soon as SK started the Dragon, ROCCAT couldn't find an opening to engage in, because you're going to run straight into an Ahri. She's going to land a charm in your face, and you're going to die, which means fight is lost. So they had to just stay back, couldn't find an opening. Again, they don't have any real engage unless they land a binding or cocoon. But to do that, you need wards on the map. You need to see where SK Gaming is going or moving around, and potentially hope a support is going to face check you, which he didn't.
Jez is caught out with a dark binding. Now they're going to follow through. Shockwave will pull him down. Intervention, though, is popped, and that's a lot of ultimates used. Jankos, where's he going to go from this rappel? He's just going to drop straight down in amongst them. Freddy and Svenskeren pouncing on towards Vander. They're going to chase him down. He's going to get the slow on towards Vander. There's no tower to fall back on. Wild Growth used on the support to save his life. That's another ultimate burn. ROCCAT are completely split here.
Decent chunks from the side though, and actually Selva decides it's not even worth it at this point. They need to get around and defend this inhibited turret. And ROCCAT are just nowhere near this one. SK right on top of it. No shockwave, of course, for overpower after it was used earlier. SK losing a good chunk of health, though. See most of them down to around about half binding. Will land onto Candy Panda. They're going to try and get on him. He will flash. Flash in from Selva. They do manage to get the kill. In fact, it was Panda that did steal it away in the end. But Selva's been the man of this fight. Will Valkyrie in. There's the charm going on to him. That should slow him down enough for SK to get away.
They've got to keep chasing. They want to force them out. They need to get something from this one. They've just lost their inhibitor turret. If they could continue burning them down, they may have been able to sneak the Baron. But again, SK disengage. A single charm from Jesus onto the AD carry, stop them dead in their tracks.
And this Kayle pickup here for Enrated has been so important, because again, whenever a binding or a cocoon lands, Enrated is there. He's ready with the ulti. So even though Shockwave is used, even though ROCCAT just used all the damage on this one member, instantly we get the ult from Enrated. It's only the one guy being locked up. As soon as he's out of the binding, out of the CC, the ulti wears off from Kayle, and he's free to just either step away or actually re-engage like we saw Jesus do here before. So this Kayle ult has been working really well against Morgana. Not only in the laning phase, but also in terms of ROCCAT trying to find these picks with these two, Elise and Morgana, and it's just not been paying off, and they haven't been getting the team bites. SK Gaming have constantly they're actually just chasing them. We never get this full-on 5 versus 5, where the come from ROCCAT could also be very strong as long as they can kite. They never get the chance.
Kite is very strong as well with SK. We've seen time after time those void spikes, cleavers, charms coming down, and very hard to chase into SK Gaming without, number one, taking too much damage in there as well. And I've got a feeling that SK is just going to do that this entire time, you know, go in there, push that turret down, wait for ROCCAT to start chasing and say, no, you know, you're going to chase us back, but we're just going to slowly but surely back away. In fact, they're now moving over towards the Baron there is. They get clear out there from SK Gaming, so they got full vision control of that Baron area. One over the back as well will spot Vander coming in to put one down.
And that's what we've talked about, the vision control. You know, SK coming in, ROCCAT not defending their wards at all. SK complete vision control, like starting to set up for a Baron potential here. ROCCAT come in, they sneak in, get a ward down, but that's immediately cleared by SK. And ROCCAT just sat again, well, we can't see what's going on, we don't know what's happening. And SK are fully in control of this game now, despite the fact it is, what, only 300 gold in ROCCAT's favor.
So while SK can actually group up and go for this open inhibitor, they're gonna have a hard time pushing down towers because there's so much wave play on the side of ROCCAT here. So if SK ever groups up in one lane, ROCCAT is there to defend. They can just instant kill the minions. So we actually do see SK realizing, fair enough, we can't really take down the towers. We can either go for open inhibitor or we can try and bait the Baron here. That's gonna be the two options. They need to catch out ROCCAT outside of the base or under their own tower if they feel like Freddy can go in for the dive, get a kill, remove some of the wave there, and then you can start taking the towers here. So that's simply why we're seeing SK Gaming setting up around this Baron here as well.
And Mundo is slowly but surely turning those two giant belts from earlier into a lot more than that. Already got the Warmog's armor complete. Aranduins will be coming in here next, and that is a tanky Mundo. Is at that point now where you just, I want to say ignore him. You can't really ignore Mundo. That's the sad thing about it, because he's in your face constantly, sticks to whoever he decides to go for. But so very difficult to actually end up taking down that Morellonomicon from Zaz. Definitely going to be helping out, but the jungle is starting to be overrun here by SK, and looks like they're going to make the natural progression towards that top inner turret.
And just slowly stepping further and further into the jungle, try to clear the wards. They get one down here from Vander, so at least can see SK move between the mid and top lane now. But it's so good for Freddy to play against so much magic damage because it opens up again. Spirit Vision first item, perfect with Dr. Mundo, you get the health regeneration, and at the same time you get Warmogs again. Your Q, your cleaver scales on your HP even better. And can an AP champion who doesn't have any % magic damage burst down someone like Dr. Mundo at this point? Not gonna happen.
Well, all the focus around the Baron buff area has left the Dragon completely untouched. It spawns now, and that's not what SK care about. They're on the Baron. ROCCAT nowhere near this, being zoned out completely by Freddy. He is running basically as a bouncer right now for SK. That is a quick and easy Baron for SK. Look at him, entire team on top of him. He's just like, yeah, whatever, you know, gonna kill me, that's great.
He died.
We already took the Baron.
Yeah, really just basically blocking
Death
with
push.
the power of him. We see that the Phosphorus bomb coming over the top from Celever, and ROCCAT realizing that they've lost out on that Baron. Obviously with that Morellonomicon, it becomes a lot harder for him to actually be tanking and regenning that entire time. There's the jump in, they're going for overpower, and it is going to be the charm that gets it. And very
This is 4 members.
This could be real bad for ROCCAT. There's the second kill. The reset's coming for Svenskeren.
He's not going to get away from this one. There's the flash. Svenskeren continues to chase on towards him. He will have a leap in a couple of seconds. He chooses to just step away there. The rest of SK come in though. The inhibitor is wide open, and as you just pointed out, that was a 4v5, and SK just dominated the fight.
Yeah, there was a ward in the bush here, overpower. He was running as the last member from ROCCAT down towards this Dragon here. Justice instantly just goes for him. There's a pink ward here in the bush. Look at overpower trading behind, jumps him. He's going down instantly, no protection for him, no chance to even wild go for him because Zazus wasn't in range. And then SK Gaming just keep on chasing. They have the Baron buff. They've shown they're so strong in these team fights. And this mid game where Celevar could have made an impact on the Corki, it never really happened.
Problem is though, even if you'd have gone something into the late game like we saw him so well on that Tristana, if you think back to yesterday, the way it's going here, they're not going to get towards a late game period where it's going to be so strong. They've just not been able to capitalize on the power that he should really have. If you look at down his items there,
Looks like the Infinity Edge will be coming out next year. Did get a Vamp set to halfway through to keep himself some sustain going. But then you look towards Mundo and you think Branduin's Warmog, Spirit Visage. It's not easy to kill, and we saw it during that last Baron takedown from SK Gaming that they sent Freddy in. It takes him so long to kill him off, and he's such a pain with his cleavers that they can just basically take objectives while he's just tanking on the team.
And while this game is not being Candy Panda, who's been the guy to carry, Jess has been doing a fantastic job on Ari here. But the fact that SK Gaming banned Tristana, first picked the Hyper carry, and suddenly Celavar had to go for Corki. There was nothing left for him to play. If you look on the side of Candy Panda, he's played Twitch as well, he's played Jinx as well in the playoffs. So even if ROCCAT decides to fully ban AD carries, there will still be a late game carry ready for Candy Panda to pick up. And we can say the same for Celavar. That's going to be a big deal in the pick and bans going into the next few games.
Yeah, it's what we noticed long ago throughout the season that Celavar was limited on his pull, despite this great performance yesterday, it seems again. And I gotta wonder whether Jankos, could have maybe helped focus that bottom lane earlier on. They didn't really put any pressure on Candy Panda and Rated. SK, look at this, off the side, Charm lands on towards Zazas, instantly they react and pounce on towards him. Wild Growth comes out, Jezza's actually caught in a good dark binding, but there's just no follow-up. They haven't got the damage. Candy Panda actually flanking round, that's unusual. The AD carry's not really the guy that should be doing that.
Well, I'm apparently saying don't need to stay passive on this one. We can see that the Nexus turrets are taking chunks of damage now as the super minions start to come in there. And you're going to have to force them off. And I think this is a scenario where ROCCAT are going to eventually have to say, guys, we have to leave this tower. We have to let that one go down to defend the base.
So while they could defend the first wave here with all the wave clear, as soon as they had to use the Wild Growth, it wasn't up anymore, any longer. Celavar is very low in mana. They just had to back away from this tower here, give it up to SK Gaming, and that's what they can keep doing because SK Gaming are so far ahead. Again, not necessarily in terms of gold, but just because their late game comp is so much better, the gold counts even more for them.
Well, this middle inhibitor, it will be respawning at some point shortly. Svenskeren's the man in the mid lane, pushing, helping those super minions keep the damage down. Candy Panda comes in, Freddy tanks up a couple of the hits, and this inhibitor turret in his top lane is not going to be much longer in the world. Jess's charm does not land, but his burst damage does, and Jankos takes that. Again, another couple of shots come in. Svenskeren pulls ROCCAT to the side. They continue the siege, and slowly but surely that tower is falling.
Down to about half HP now. Svenskeren in the meantime pushing these super minions on through into the base. So ROCCAT again going to be faced. Apparently my fractions are a little bit off because that's definitely not half HP. That's about 2 auto attacks here from Candy Panda, and that one's going to go down. Super minions have to be dealt with. Just forget super minions. Svenskeren has to be dealt with. He's on the Nexus turrets himself, and ROCCAT are trying to hold on to the inhibitor turret. Priorities.
Priorities indeed. What are they doing? He's been flanking around that whole side. 2 more auto attacks from Candy Panda is all it's going to take. Jankos, he's the man. He's going to leap in towards it. Svenskeren jumps on him right now. This is a jungle battle, duel back and forward, and Jankos may not well win it. The inhibitor turret falls on the left-hand side. Svenskeren stealths himself up. Jankos will not fall back on towards him, but the damage is done, and Svenskeren backs off.
Still the tower in top lane is alive. It's now all about inhibitor here for SK Gaming. They are fairly low in mana, Candy Panda as well. This might be the chance to fight for ROCCAT. And then Jankos almost dies.
Almost dies. Putting that disclaimer there right at the very last second, and Jankos doing exactly the same with a nice little repel to get away from Jesus, who actually flashed for that one. They did take down the inhibitor as well, so that is good news for them. But that top turret, I'm not sure how it quite survived, but the important thing is that it did actually survive going in there. And there must be a decent chunk of gold here for SK Gaming to be going home and spending. And as I say that, you can see a couple of them start on 1700 gold, and the items are just going to start flowing for them at this point.
Yeah, they were sieging for a long time there, making full use. The Baron will be back up in a minute. ROCCAT desperately forcing themselves out, get the wards down around that pit. They know that SK could well be focusing straight towards it. They've pushed the top wave out, they pushed the bottom wave out. They're trying to do the same against the super minions in that mid lane, forcing every little thing they can make out of it. They really, really, really want to catch someone out. Maybe an N-rated sneaking in to put some wards down, or a Candy Panda walking good, yeah, unawares into the bush.
Get the butterfly.
Oh, shows himself too early.
Candy Panda there. Still the guy has been in the scene for many, many years. He's seen most things. He was also the guy where Fnatic did their clairvoyance trick in DreamHack Finals, Season 1.
He'll thank you for reminding him of that one.
Yeah, he was the guy walking in dying. So yeah, he knows about these small traps. It was pretty much what ROCCAT could do at this point. Otherwise, now they're going to be forced into a straight-up 5 versus 5 around the Baron pit. And if they lose it, the game will be done.
Small correction, it was Season 2 at Gamescom.
Was
Right
it?
here, actually.
Really?
In 2012, I believe.
Huh, almost the same.
Yeah, back old El Clasico there. So Baron is live, Dragon is spawning. ROCCAT's wards that they managed to squeeze out there. There's still 2 surviving, and they are, again, still trying to get a little trap, but it's so hard to spring a trap like that when there's living artillery, and there's a gigantic bouncer coming into your face. Svenskeren is going to jump on towards them as well. That's going to be the shockwave, not doing enough damage, and they are being forced out of that. Once Freddy came in amongst 4 members, no cares given. He had his sadism running and just simply face-checked a lot.
And that was actually a good shockwave by Overpower, but if you look at every single member from SK Gaming, they all have magic resist because, well, you have 4.5 magic damage dealers on the side of ROCCAT here. So easy for SK Gaming to survive, even though it was a great shockwave from Overpower here. Nobody even dropped too low. Candy Panda has heal, has life steal, and of course Enrated as well can give him a little bit of help regaining all his HP. And now on to Baron.
Baron down to half HP. Nexus Taurus in the meantime are once again going to be pressured by the Super Minions. They decide to jump away. Overpower, he is in no man's land here. And there is the ultimate used out of Jesus. It's going to be a simple kill to put Jesus on the rampage. And SK say, well, easy. So just gifted to them on a plate there.
Yeah.
He had no shockwave available. He used his flash to basically run away. And that is a Baron going to SK.
That was basically Overpower just trying to make a hero play in the very end, go and see if he couldn't kill someone in the back or steal the Baron. I'm not sure. The point is still for ROCCAT. They are so far behind at this point. They need a fantastic team fight or SK Gaming to make a big, big mistake here. If ROCCAT is going to come back in this game, it really does not look good at the moment.
So game 1 very much in control by SK. It's actually been something that's ran throughout the game, honestly. While ROCCAT may well have stole a few little objectives here and there, a cheeky little dragon play as they drew the attention of SK up the river. It's still, that was pretty much the last play they made in this matchup because SK, even when behind in gold, have been the ones that have looked like they're going to win the game.
And while SK Gaming didn't 100% manage to shut down Jankers, he actually didn't do anything just by himself. He didn't manage to pull off any successful ganks except for the one in the top lane where he got the first blood. Otherwise, we haven't really seen Jankers. And this is what happens with ROCCAT when Jankers is not the guy who carries the early game. Because the 2 side lanes, or solo laners, sorry, while they did well on farm, they were extremely passive, didn't manage to do anything else on the map. Jesse started getting a few kills on Ahri, and suddenly he got rolling. And down the bottom lane, they fell behind to the Kale, or to Candy Panda and Raided. Ended up losing the tower as well. So whenever Jankers is not the guy who gets some good ganks in the early game, the rest of ROCCAT just looked very, very passive and also lost the battle for wards, which is pretty weird considering ROCCAT is one of the best teams normally at placing wards.
Well, SK are moving in to get rid of that inhibitor, obviously respawning in. The Super Minions have already caused ROCCAT a whole host of problems. Can they finish off the inhibitor? Svenskeren actually taking a good bit of damage there, and that shockwave, don't forget, is available here for Overpower. It's going to take a massive one to actually help them out, but even the last one, which was very good from Overpower, you have to give them the credit where it's due, hitting 3 men inside of the jungle. Didn't really do all that much damage because of the magic resist that they've been building up.
You know, ROCCAT keep doing this combo there, the Cocoon, Dark Binding, double CCing someone, but there's just no follow-up anymore from ROCCAT. They keep landing there. They just did on Freddy. Look at Freddy, he's back to full hit points already. Intervention's always there to fall back on as well. Another inhibitor goes down as Freddy just stands and face tanks all of ROCCAT, while the rest of SK just chip away and melt down the base. ROCCAT are absolutely helpless here as SK look to close out game 1. It is a solid performance and a bit of a worry for ROCCAT. We said it from the very beginning though, back in pick and ban. How are they going to deal with Freddy on Mundo? They banned out 3 top laners and still waited to counterpick.
They just, I mean, they took his tower in the top lane, they killed him once, but he was even in farm with Xaxus for the entire time. What is the reason to pick Lulu then? If you're not even going to try and bully and shut down the Dr. Mundo up in the laning phase? Yeah, okay, sure, you have a lot of utility in team fights, but you're never really going to have a real tank because Lulu is your top laner at the moment and you have the least jungle. So Freddy, as long as he just picked up all the farm he could in the lane, he got early Spirit Visage, then he built in towards the Warmox, the double Giants build, and from there on, he was just unkillable.
And I think that's the point of it, that Lulu had to bully Mundo, slow him down from getting to this stage where, to be honest, I mean, this is kind of the composition that you exactly don't want to play against a Mundo, which is full of magic damage, even from the AD carry. And the thing is, he got to that stage, and Corki never really had his time to shine in this one either. You know, if we were now looking at a Tristana or maybe a Vayne as well, obviously that'd be a little bit more vulnerable in this composition, it would be doing a lot more. I mean, the Rockets going through don't really dent anybody on that SK team.
And the gold graph we just saw there, you know, kind of basically shows what exactly we talked about. You know, ROCCAT needed to win early. They had a 5,000 gold advantage, yet never made use of it, never at any time looked like they were going to go for it. They are going to try and go in.
That was 2 ults, by the way.
A risk play comes out, it doesn't work out, and sure as hell, SK will punish them here. They're just going to pace on through and rush into the base. The super minions were already on the Nexus turrets. They're going to take down. It is going to be ROCCAT going out in game 1. It's a best of 5 though, plenty of time to turn around. Their coach Veggie is going to be having to look at this one and having a long, hard think, because SK Gaming, they were in full control of that game, even when they were 5,000 gold behind.
And it actually almost felt like, while ROCCAT were trying to ban out Freddy, they also banned out Xaxus, their own top laner, because he had the last pick. He could have taken Dr. Mundo earlier if they wanted the late game tank, because it was picked by Freddy in the last rotation by SK Gaming there, so there's options for ROCCAT to take it. Instead they waited, wanted to last pick the top lane, end up saying, we actually don't have anything we can play into this Mundo now, let's just try them low.